Hey guys, Ash here from Really Fit, and I want to talk to you today about beating belly bloat because I've had several women over the past week alone talk to me about how bloated they feel, which is quite typical around this time of year when it's super hot. So let's talk about it because I used to wake up and feel like I had a flat tummy, and then by the end of the day, I would feel like my stomach was so bloated. So, coming from my own previous experience and just, like knowing that feeling, but knowing how much better I feel now. Like I wake up and I have a flat tummy and I feel like I generally go to bed with one. So I want you guys to feel the same. So first I want to go over, hey guys, thanks for joining. Amanda, Nicole, and Sarah. First I want to go over the things that typically end up causing belly bloat. The two main reasons you get belly bloat is usually gas. So intestinal discomfort, okay, so you really get gas, you get that distended feeling, and then dehydration. So typically those are the two main reasons, and intestinal distress can come in many different forms. So even if it's not gas, it can even be constipation, like anything that kind of makes your stomach look like it's out. And I used to say, I would wake up looking fairly normal, and then I'd go to bed with a stomach that looked like I was pregnant. And that's how distended and uncomfortable it would get. It was so distended, and it would be almost hard, but it didn't look that way. So yeah, anyways, these are the two main reasons. But why does that happen? Okay, why does it happen? Especially around this time of year when it tends to be, hot out, and we want to wear things that are a little bit more revealing to keep cool or either to feel sexy or whatever. This is the time of the year that we want to be not bloated. We don't want to be bloated any day, but especially at this time of year. So I get it. So a couple things that really affected me and then that I know affect other people, that's what I'd like to go through. And then I'd also like to go through how to correct that. So I want you to stick around to the end and we'll go over some questions if you guys have them, or you can ask along the way and I'll do my best to go over them. So I wrote down stuff so I do not forget. So I'm going to go over mine first. The biggest thing for me was eating things that my body was sensitive to. So a little bit of food sensitivities. And this doesn't mean that you have to be allergic to stuff, okay? And it doesn't mean that, you have to go and get tested for somebody to tell you you're sensitive. If you're sensitive to something, you will know simply by listening to your body. So if you eat something and you get super distended, gassy, constipated, your face breaks out, like anything that seems a little bit abnormal, then you're probably sensitive to it. Give me a little tap for those of you that feel it, because I feel like so many people know it's there, but they don't address it. Give me a little tap, 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 tap. Hey, great topic. The struggle is real. Yes. Amanda, you're like me. Yes. Tap, tap, guys. It's just crazy how many people I see and hear about experiencing this, because that is typically, it doesn't mean that you have to have a high allergy to it, but you're sensitive to it. So when you're sensitive to something, your body is going to have a hard time digesting it. And when you have a hard time digesting it, your stomach's going to get distended, it's going to get constipated, or the opposite, which means that things are moving along quicker, which also causes you quite a bit of distress and can make you dehydrated, which is another reason for getting bloated. So for me, that was number one reason, was eating things that I was sensitive to that I should have known, but I think because I got so used to being bloated, it's like I didn't address it. I just thought that's the way I felt all the time. I didn't realize how good I could feel not being bloated all the time. So that would be the number one, and I'll tell you guys how to kind of address that later if you feel like that's you. The other one for me was constipation, because that's how I often react to food sensitivities, is that I get really constipated. And so that also makes your stomach distended, so it's kind of like a double whammy. And even when you push on it, like, it sounds really gross, but you can almost feel everything stuck in there, because you have not only water retention, because you're eating something you're sensitive to, so you're retaining water and your body's kind of like fighting that sensitivity, but then you have it compounded often by constipation because you can't go to the bathroom. And then the third major one for me is dehydration. And I know, like, even though I eat very clean, I can tell if I'm dehydrated just by the way my stomach looks. And initially when you're dehydrated, you actually will start to look a little bit slimmer. That's dehydration. But often your body will start to balance that out by retaining water to help you stay hydrated. So, for an example, if you're out for an evening and you have some drinks, often you'll notice you start to feel dehydrated right away. You'll notice it in your skin. All of a sudden your laugh lines start to show a little bit more. And then maybe your stomach looks a little bit flatter, but when you wake up in the morning, often you can't get your fingers off, or sorry, your ring off your fingers, because now you're dehydrated and your body's retaining water. Also, as an example, think about somebody that is sick in the hospital. Often you will go and they look really bloated. Like their face looks bloated, their neck looks bloated, their body gets bloated, and they're retaining a lot of water. That's their body trying to fight things. They're not drinking as many fluids. Obviously the hospital's trying to like work fluids through them, but until that catches up, often they'll be quite bloated. So this is a sign of dehydration. So those are the 3 top ones for me. It was food sensitivities that I wasn't addressing, which caused constipation, and then dehydration. Not the constipation caused dehydration, but dehydration was another one for me. Let me just check quickly before I go on. This is such a great topic. I deal with bloat often. Hurry fibroid. Oh, that sucks. I love the crap that bloats me most. We all do. Damn food. It's often the most addictive things, right? If only my tummy looked like it did when I woke up each morning. Exactly, April. I don't know if you were on here then, but that's exactly what I just said. It's often there's so many women, I used to be myself included, that I would wake up and I'd be like, damn, like I actually look pretty good. And I'm really proud of my stomach, and this is when I want to take a picture. But then by the time I went to bed, I'd look down and I'd be like, I look pregnant. Like, how did that even happen? Or you sit on the toilet and that's when everything really kind of presents itself and you look, a little bit more bloated there. And I even feel it in my legs. So I start to feel like if I'm having something I'm sensitive to, which I still do enjoy sometimes, I just don't have it regularly. But if I have something I'm sensitive to, I even feel the water weight in my legs. So you become super, acutely aware of what's going on with your body. And like you'll notice when you're really sensitive and reactive to things, and then you can kind of choose whether you want to eat them or not. So, sometimes I want to have gluten and sometimes I want to have beer. It's not often, but when I do, and I'm like, who cares if I get bloated? Awesome. I don't care about a little inflammation at that time. But most of the time, I'm going to eat the foods that are anti-inflammatory and don't cause me distress. Okay, but here are some other things for people. So a really common one is also sodium and pizza, and especially for those of you that eat a lot of processed food. So I can go to a client's place in the morning and I can tell if they've had pizza the night before, because that example again, the rings. All of a sudden their fingers look like super bloated around their rings, and it's because they've had so much sodium and not enough water to kind of like counterbalance that and work it out. So watch your sodium intake. I don't like giving numbers. I'm not going to give you a number, but I can tell you that if you eat clean most of the time, I actually have to add sodium to my food, right? Because a lot of the stuff I eat isn't processed, so I actually add a little bit of sodium iodine for my thyroid because I have low thyroid. So for me, I don't count sodium. I don't worry about it. I just listen to my body. I can tell when I'm craving it and I give in. Because I know most of my foods are clean and void of, unless it's natural sodium, they really don't have much sodium in it at all. So but be careful, like pay attention to that bloating. Another really interesting one is chewing gum. So a lot of times people chew gum because they're actually trying to push down their appetite, which ironically, it can actually increase your appetite because the act of chewing is part of digestion. So when you chew gum, you're actually preparing your body for food. It's starting to digest things. And at the same time, you're inhaling air. And what is that going to turn into? Gas. And then what is gas going to do? It's going to make you feel bloated. So I actually discourage people from having gum. When I used to work at General Motors, I had a pack of gum a day. And it was so addictive. Not good because of the aspartame, so there's a lot of reasons not to eat gum. But I think a more natural way to suppress the appetite or kind of like give that different flavor to your mouth after you finish a meal rather than picking up gum is just have some lemon water or have a little bit of hot tea with some like a tiny little bit of raw honey or something like that. Something a little bit more natural that puts a different flavor in your mouth but without the bloating, without inhaling all that air. Which is also relatable to carbonated drinks. And this is kind of my arch nemesis because this is one thing that I do like to enjoy, whether that be beer, sometimes pop, or even club soda, like a soda water type thing. I love carbonated things, so I have to be careful about not having it much because it bloats you. Like I can be like a couple sips in and like, bleh, and I start burping right away, and then that also makes its way down into my stomach and presents itself with bloat. This bloat kind of works its way through quicker than eating things that you're sensitive to. However, it still bloats you. And then what else here? Not drinking enough water, which I talked about. Fibrous foods. So if you don't normally eat fibrous foods like beans, legumes, cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, stuff like that, they can make you feel really bloated, but doesn't mean that you shouldn't have them, okay? Because your body will adjust. Just make sure you start with smaller amounts. Make sure you chew a lot. So like that is part of the digestion process. So make sure you chew quite a bit. And then as you swallow, it will be easier to digest that and it won't make you as bloated. Excuse me, but you don't want to skip out on them because they're super good for you. So that, and then the last thing is your period. So it's really hard to combat that. I mean, almost all of us, no matter how hard I try, I still get bloated around my period. Maybe not as bad as I used to, but it's still there. So you also have to just be aware of your body and know if it's either hormonal or if it's influenced by the choices that you're making. So, you know, and give yourself a break. If it's a bit hormonal and you're exercising and you're drinking lots of water and eating healthy, you might have a little bit of bloat until, you know, you end up getting your period and then it kind of works its way out. And then I find for myself personally, I get bloated like a couple days before, and then the day of my period, it basically just all releases and I'm like, okay, wow. So I still am eating healthy and, you know, drinking lots of water and I'm good. But you just have to know those things. So yeah, it's funny because people often are so bloated during this time of year because A, it's hot out. So if they're not drinking enough water, they're retaining water. B, it's summer months. We're on holidays more, it's warm out, we're socializing more, we tend to have alcoholic drinks more, which dehydrates us. So you want to make sure that you have water. And then with that, when we're going and we're socializing and we're enjoying ourselves, we end up indulging a little bit more. So we might be having foods that, you know, we're sensitive to. And maybe it doesn't present itself in an upset stomach, but it presents itself in constipation or water retention or whatever, or like a reaction on your face like I get. So just make sure you tune in and pick and choose the times that you're okay with giving it. But if you want to spend most of your day flat stomached, you're going to want to be very aware of these and do your best to be moderate with them, right? So you don't want to have them all the time. It's all about balance. Yeah. Hey, Angela. So nice to see you. Hey, Rebecca. So yeah, those are the things that I find cause. So just, I'm going to reiterate really quickly, and then I'm going to go into how to combat this. So the first thing is eating things you're sensitive to. Constipation, sodium, chewing gum, and or one thing I didn't mention is not chewing your food enough. Kind of mentioned that. Not drinking enough water, so dehydration. Fibrous foods like beans, legumes, cruciferous vegetables that you're not used to, but you will get used to them, so don't eliminate them. And then your hormones and your period. So those seem to be the typical reasons that people get bloated. Obviously, there could be other reasons out there, but these seem to be the general ones. For me, it was the sensitivity to foods, water retention, and then constipation. So, which was all kind of related to each other. Now, how to combat them. For me, numero uno was eliminating those foods. So food journaling, finding out where my triggers were, you know, what I ate on certain days, or even after certain meals. Like, I react really quickly to something if I'm sensitive to it. So I'm lucky that way, I guess you could say, because I can see, oh, okay, that's what I reacted to. Now I might not want to have that so much, or just give my gut a break and not have it for a while so I can kind of like recuperate it, and then maybe I can have that without such a bloating, discomfort, gassy, constipated reaction. So that was number one for me, eliminating that. That's where I find my biggest change, where I actually go to bed feeling like I have a flat stomach. So I would suggest the same thing for you guys as food journal, see where it is. I actually went and got a test to see what I was allergic to, and nothing showed up. And my body was still reacting huge, so I didn't take that as my answer. I ended up I knew I was sensitive to lactose from being a kid, but I ended up doing my own food journaling and just listening to my body and discovering it. So be your own advocate and figure it out on your own, basically. It doesn't take long. So, and then the next thing I did was drink lots of water. So I try to aim for 2 to 3 liters of water a day, and my water does include my green juice. So if I have like a massive jug of green juice, then that's going to be included in my hydration. And some days I'll have a little bit more and some days I'll have a little bit less, but that seems to be my average. So in and around there, and that's where I find I look the best, because I can tell in my skin if I'm hydrated, and that's where I can tell my stomach stays the most flat, my legs don't get that bloated type feeling. So I make sure I stay hydrated. And what worked best for me is actually getting a liter bottle. I got like a reusable, like stainless steel liter bottle, so I know how much I'm having. I found if I had the 500 milliliter waters, that I would lose count and I wouldn't know how much I had. So this I find motivating. I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm like 1.5 way through. Like now I only need another like 1.5 or even a half if I'm feeling good around that with my green juice. So that's how I kind of assess, and that really helps with bloating as well. But I notice first in my skin. So pay attention to your skin, and you'll notice it with lines, especially if you're into your 30s. Oh my God, why is it saying storage is full? I'm not doing anything like that. Okay. Next thing is, I did touch on this, is I don't eat a lot of things with sodium. So these are the things that help me, but I do add sodium into my meals. So if you eat a lot of processed foods, like try to moderate and if not take down how much sodium you have, and you'll notice a big difference with that as well. As I'm sure you guys have heard, but don't be afraid of sodium. So I'm even a little bit hesitant to say this because I don't want people to be afraid of sodium. Because sodium is good, it's part of your electrolytes, like you need it to feel good and energized, but you don't need to be getting it in all these processed foods. It's better to actually add a little bit of like table salt that has like the sodium and the iodine in it to help with your electrolytes, especially if you work out hard. Which leads me to the next one, is working out really helps with bloating. So working out helps to sweat it out. So if you have like some water retention, it helps to sweat it out. It helps with balancing your hormones, so it helps with the hormone side of it. And then additionally, it helps to move things along. So, you know, there's a lot of people that will go running and they're like, oh God, and they have to go to the bathroom. And it's because it moves things along. So exercise can really help. If that's one of the ways you react is constipated, that makes you feel bloated, then obviously you want to work out. And hey, who doesn't feel good after a workout? So even if you are still a little bit bloated, you'll still feel better about yourself and you'll be ever so slightly less bloated. So that helps. I don't chew gum anymore. So that's one thing I don't do. I don't even crave it anymore at all, which is funny because I used to have like a pack a day. So it sounds like I'm smoking cigarettes or something, but it was just gum. And yeah, when I worked at General Motors, I was like highly addicted to the aspartame and highly addicted to that chewing. And yeah, it made me bloated, and it makes a lot of people bloated. So if you think that you're a frequent gum chewer, you might want to kind of ease back on the chewing of gum. And then the carbonated beverages. But for me, that's my arch nemesis. That's something I'm probably not going to give up. That's something that I embrace. If I want to have a drink, I will embrace being bloated because I really want to enjoy that beer, or I want to have a pop once in a while. So it's kind of like picking and choosing, but I don't have them every day. So yeah, so you don't have to worry about it. But if you drink carbonated, even water, like even the Perrier stuff, like you'll still get bloated. So be careful with how frequently you have it. And then lastly, the foods that I really like to add in if I'm bloated is if I'm like really uncomfortable, like my stomach is like, ooh, something's not right, which was the other week, have apple cider vinegar. So some people will say throw it into water and, you know, like a couple tablespoons into 500 milliliters or whatever of water. I'm a shot girl, so not shot alcohol, but with apple cider vinegar. I would rather just do a shot and get it over with. And I find that that really helps to like ease my gut, ease the discomfort, and start to like balance my pH levels, basically, if you will. Like also, it's almost like you can feel the warmth going down and settling the stomach. So, and it does help with water retention and everything. So that's what I'll do when it's really bad, but I don't do that every day because it is quite acidic. So that's what I do. And then the other things, I can put this down now. The other things I do is if I'm really bloated, I will try to incorporate some asparagus, like if I'm like water retention bloated, which will also help with constipation, I guess. Asparagus, watermelon, parsley. I put parsley in our green juice. So very detoxifying and really helps with bloat. It's like you feel cleaner when you're drinking it. There's something about parsley that's just unreal. So that one is really big. And ginger. So like real ginger, like not like the powdered stuff. Like we get the ginger root and we cut it, and like I put like a generous amount into our green juice. I know it doesn't call for it, but we put it in. I like the flavor, plus I just like the anti-inflammatory properties that and parsley has, and it's in one drink. So those are kind of the foods that I incorporate when I'm bloated, and it really helps to kind of get rid of that water and make your stomach start to feel flat again. But Number one, I have to go back to again, is the food sensitivities. So really be careful. The main ones for bloating, number one is probably dairy that people don't realize. So it's funny because they'll wake up and then they'll have coffee with cream in it or tea with or milk, and they start their day bloated. So they almost forget what it feels like to not be bloated. And like dairy is pretty bad. And then gluten can be very bloating, and both can be constipation triggers. So you have to be very careful. I know I talk about those two a lot, but I see the biggest difference in myself as well as my clients. So let me go over and see if anybody has some questions. Here we go. Let me go back up, make sure I don't miss any. Okay, so first question I haven't answered is, do I treat my thyroid naturally? No, not really. I do take L-Troxin, which is a thyroid replacement drug, and it helps me huge. However, I have gone through phases where I've done thyroid massages, and I find eliminating gluten is huge for your thyroid, so if you want to call that natural, but no, I do treat it, and I feel so good on it, I don't see myself stopping it. So yeah, I don't treat it naturally. Period bloat is the worst, especially after my second baby was born. Oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I was actually just talking with a client today, I don't know if she's on here, Kristen, that I had a C-section ever since I had my daughter. When I am about to get my period, like right above my incision gets bloated. Like hard bloated. It's like, if anybody's had a C-section on here and you get it, please tap, because I'm curious to know if I'm the only one who gets this. Like, I've actually gone to the doctors about it and had them do an ultrasound, because I'm like, what is wrong? Like, what's in there? But it's like literally, it's like this big that gets bloated, and it gets super hard right above my incision when I'm about to get my period. So odd. Oh, there's a person. Anybody else? Does anybody else get that after having a C-section? It's like the weirdest period symptom since having Rowan. Same with period bloat. Oh, the worst. Yeah, for me, period bloat, I find the best thing for that is water and exercise. It really helps, especially emotionally. So it's my feelings and emotions time. So I find that those two help the most with my bloating as well. The live feed keeps creeping out on me. I'll have to come back and watch from the beginning. Sorry. I swear the apple cider vinegar, I take about 2 tablespoons a day. It totally helps. Oh, really? You take 2 tablespoons a day? There are theories out there that having it every day isn't necessarily good because it's so acidic. So, but you would know, just listen to your body. Like if you're getting heartburn and stuff, like just obviously be careful with that. But yeah, I used to take it quite regularly because I was bloated all the time. And so I swore by it because it really helped, and I found it worked quickly. Like I felt not bloated quickly. However, you don't want to use that as like a mask to the things that your body's trying to say. So if you're getting really bloated, you have to, and you're really getting gassy and constipated, you have to listen, right? Like, why is it doing that? Listen to your body. It's trying to talk to you. You can't always just like have some apple cider vinegar and hope it goes away, because there's going to be more to it than that. Yeah, I can't see it anymore. I know. I don't know what's going on with my phone. It keeps on telling me my battery's full and my storage is full. So I don't know if that has an influence on this. Would love to hear some more about your green drink recipe. Carrie, I can, I've talked about it so much, I probably have it in like another feed. However, just so you don't have to go and find it, I'll post the recipe on here after for you. Okay? This is the best. I love it. You say period can bloat you. I love my sparkling water. I often use my soda stream to carbonate water, as is the best way for me to ensure I drink enough. I'm sure that means like enough water. Yeah, period can bloat. So obviously not as much as like a soda water, because that's a lot more fizzy, but it's still carbonated, so it can bloat. And I find a lot of people still feel it almost makes them feel more thirsty. And I don't know the theory behind that. So if anybody knows why carbonated drinks make you really thirsty, let me know. But I discourage you from having them every day because they can impede digestion. So I recommend you don't have them when you're having food. Like if you're gonna have a carbonated drink, try to have it away from food, especially if you do it often. But yeah, if it helps you get some water in, go for it. It's not, and especially if it's your own, like sparkling water. Trina, yes, and then that is all. So yeah, that's bloating, guys. I mean, all of us get bloated, but for those of you that get bloated often, definitely check in with your food, do some food journaling. Try to see what your triggers are, like right from the simplest things, like I said, like putting cream and milk in your coffee, or sometimes people get bloated from like the most random things. Like just stay in tune with your body and figure out what it is. Have, you know, at least 2 liters of water a day, if not just have like, you know, liters of liquid, not dehydrating liquid. I'm always having my tea during my Facebook Live. I look forward to it. But yeah, don't count this as your 2 liters. Make sure that is 2 liters above and beyond any like caffeinated drink you have. And incorporate the foods that help with de-bloating you. So, you know, have the ginger, have the parsley, watermelon, asparagus, any of those foods that are like so full of water, they're gonna help to push water out. But one thing to be careful with watermelon is it can actually make you feel more gassy if you have it with other food. So typically, not always, but typically melons should be eaten on their own, especially because they're so full of so much water. You digest them really quickly. So you don't want to have them with other food because it's trying to move through your system quickly while all this other food is trying to, you know, take its time to digest. So they end up mixing together, and then it's like almost like the watermelon starts fermenting in your stomach or your digestive tract and can make you gassy. So yeah, I like to use it on its own for a de-bloating thing. You can really hydrate with it. So does anybody have any more questions before I pop off here about bloat? I feel like this could potentially be a very popular topic. Like I talk about this frequently with clients. So don't shy away. If you guys have any questions about my bowel movements, my period, anything, what I eat, what I don't eat, just let me know. Make sure I went over everything. Yeah, I think so. That's it. I'm gonna give you guys a couple more seconds to ask questions, and then I'm gonna log off and enjoy the rest of my tea. No? Okay. Well, thanks for popping on here, guys. Oh, here's one, Ratika. Do they have sensitivity tests? Yeah, actually, Ratika, I mentioned how I did one, although I did mine like a prick test, like an allergy test, and nothing came back for me. And I know I'm sensitive to things. So what I recommend you do is you go and you get a naturopathic doctor to do a blood test if you can. The only reason I'm wary to do one myself is I feel like so many things would come back, it would be overwhelming. So for me, I found food journaling to be the best, and I took that food journal to my naturopath, and we went through it, and then I honestly just listened to my body. Like I started realizing what was giving me reactions. And then you'll really notice when you eliminate them and then put them back in, you're like, wow, I'm really sensitive to that, whether a blood test tells me or a prick test tells me or not. So we're so individual. So yes, you can do a sensitivity test, an allergy test, whether it be prick or blood. But the prick one came back nothing for me, which seemed insane. And then I'm just hesitant to the blood one myself. I just don't want to hear that I'm like, you know, sensitive to 50 things. Could eating later in the evening in general relate to bloating? Yes and no. I would say the most is if you eat late at night. Like I often eat late, right? So I don't feel like that has anything to do with me getting bloated. However, for those of you that eat and then lay down right away, yes, it could, because then you're having a hard time digesting, and then it also causes heartburn, which makes you either hiccup or burp, and then you start inhaling all this gas and this air, and then you start to feel bloated. So that's kind of like a wishy-washy answer, but it's so individual, Sarah. And define later, right? Like if you get up in the middle of the night and you need to go eat something, then yeah, you might feel a little bit bloated when you go back down if you haven't digested it. But in general, like if you haven't eaten the calories that you need during a day, you still need to eat them, whether it's 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. Like you need to eat them, or you're gonna get really hangry. Hey, Catherine, thanks for popping on here. Have you put your badass sticker on your car yet? Please let me know. Does that answer your question, Ratika? I hope it does. Let me know. And is there any other questions? Because I'm going to log off soon. I'll give you guys just a moment to type. And I can always come back on here, as always, and check for the next 24 hours. What time is it? 8:30. Oh, good. I'm glad. So yeah, definitely food journal. You'll see. You'll see for sure. You're most welcome. Thanks for popping on here. I appreciate it. So yeah, thanks, and thanks to everyone else who popped on here and watched and hung out with me tonight, and you're most welcome as well, Sarah. And yeah, you guys rock. And thanks for the suggestion to my clients who have been talking about it. And then also there was somebody who commented on here last time about it. So I appreciate it because it's like a no-brainer. I mean, everyone talks about getting bloated. April, do you get lots of gas eating healthy or not really now that you are in check? No, I don't actually. I get gas when I don't eat healthy. So, and it sounds horrible, but like I used to fart a lot. Like I used to like fart a lot, and they were disgusting if I hadn't gone to the bathroom. So when you combine that with constipation, like it's disgusting. And I really don't find I fart a lot. The only time I do is if I eat a food I'm sensitive to, or I have something carbonated, or maybe randomly. But like no, I really don't get that gassy. So yeah. Oh, hey Kristen, there you are. I was just talking about you earlier. Not bad things, really just talking about our session and how I was telling you about my incision getting all bloated around this period. But so yeah, no, I don't get really farty, April. So you're welcome to hang out with me anytime. I won't stink you out of the room. However, if I eat bad, I can blow a man away. So, but yeah, I'm keeping it sexy here. So I hope you guys enjoy your evening, and yeah, let me know if you have any more questions. I'll pop on here, but make tonight badass. Enjoy your black tea or your black coffee, and I will speak with you guys next week. Bye.